Hello everyone, happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And today I am super excited to share with you these 3 beautiful floral projects made using the Jar of Flowers bundle from the Stampin' Up! Annual Catalog. Now, this bundle is part of a larger mega suite in the catalog. It's right at the front of the catalog. I'll just pull it in here and show you. It's part of the Flowers for Every Season suite. And a couple weeks ago, I featured the Celebrate Sunflowers bundle, which is part of this suite. Today, I am featuring the Jar of Flowers. You're also going to see me using some sentiments from the Celebrate Sunflowers, but today we are all about this suite. Now, or this bundle rather. Now, let me show you the items in the bundle. So you get your stamp set, and I should mention that these images are shown at 75%. They're teeny tiny on here. They're actually quite a bit larger. Okay. And then you also get the coordinating mason jar punch. Now this bundle retails in Canada for less than $50, which is an awesome deal. Okay. So that's the bundle that we're going to be using. And then you're also going to see me using some sentiments from the Celebrate Sunflower stamp set and from the Best Year stamp set. Okay. So we're kind of a mixed bag today. Before we get going here, I'm just going to pull up my video on my iPad and see who is watching, who is out there with me today. Let's see. Oh, Wendy's here and Louise. Hi, Krista. Hi, Heather. Hi, Diane. Gail. How are you ladies doing? I hope you're having a good day and your week is off to a good start. So we are going to kind of work our way through the season. So we're going to start with this one, which could be a spring or summer card. Then we're going to get to this one, which is fall. And then, of course, Christmas. So let's get to it. We're going to start with this pretty card. Now, all of these cards feature lots of coloring. I've done some of the coloring ahead of time, so you don't have to sit and watch me color, which can be kind of boring. So I did a little bit ahead of time so that we can get through these in good time. All right, so I'm going to set this aside. To start, I have, well, 2 pieces of DSP. This one is cut to 4 by 5¼ inches. It is from the In Good Taste Designer Series paper pack. Okay, it's the one that has all the cool wood grain and texture kind of stuff. And then this one is from the Flowers for Every Season DSP pack. Okay, this one is cut to 4 by 2 inches. Now, before we adhere these, we are going to add this little hint of scallop ribbon trim. So to do that, I'm going to show you a little trick. You could glue the entire piece of ribbon, cut 2 pieces of ribbon and kind of glue it along the top and bottom. But we don't need to do that. We can actually just cut this ribbon in half because we have 2 perfectly good scalloped edges here. And we can get kind of a 2-for-1 deal out of this 1 piece of ribbon. So this is the In Color ribbon. It is in the annual catalog. This is in Purple Posy. So I'm going to take my DSP piece and I'm going to apply some tape. So I'm using the seal. You can use whatever tape runner that you have. You won't want to use liquid glue for this because you need something that will adhere the ribbon. Okay, so I've got some tape running right along that edge. And then I'm simply going to adhere the ribbon. Did I get it close enough to the edge? Yes, I did. I'm going to adhere the ribbon right along that edge so that the scallop is just peeking out there. Okay, that I didn't get close enough to the edge there. Let's just put a little bit more there and tack that into place. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing along this side. So again, we'll just tack this on. You have to make sure your tape comes right up to the edge of your paper. I don't think I got this close enough either. Tacking and stamping at the same time. Not my forte. Let's put this on here. All right, add a little bit more there. There we go. That's better. Okay, so now I have my my scallops, top and bottom. These extra bits I'm not going to trim off yet. I'm going to show you a little trick after I clean the adhesive off my grid paper here, so that we don't end up with a raw edge there. Okay. All right. Crisp and cool in Calgary. It is quite cool here as well, Deb. Hi, Kathy. Yeah, no snow. Oh, don't even get me started. Not ready for that yet. Ready for fall, not ready for winter. All right, so I have my ribbon kind of hanging off the ends here. I'm going to add a little bit more tape to the rest of my DSP. And then this is going to go on about 3/4 of an inch up from the bottom. So I'm going to use my grid paper as a guide. And I'm kind of eyeballing it because the ribbon kind of covers it, but no, that's too low. Let's go up a little bit higher, maybe an inch. That's better. Okay, so I still have my raw ends hanging off the edge here. Okay, and then what we're going to do is actually wrap these around and adhere them, and then we won't get that sort of frayed raw end by trimming them off. So I just have to find my glue dots. They are buried here. So we're going to add a glue dot to each little tail of ribbon and just wrap them around the back side, and then you get a nice clean finished edge. Okay, you see that? So we don't have any raw threads hanging out there. Neat and tidy. And then one more here. And there we go. So now we have a nice clean finished edge there. Okay, now that is going to get layered on a piece of Purple Posy cardstock. This is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and glue that onto there. I'm going to use a little bit more seal. And we're going to pop that on here. And I'm going to try and get this on straight without looking directly down on it. Just like that. Okay, and then that is going to get glued onto a Misty Moonlight card base. So this is 4 1/4 by 11, scored in the middle at 5 1/2. Yes, Heather, I love this combo. I kind of was playing around with colors on the weekend, and I stumble on this accidentally, and I really, really like it. The Purple Posy and the Misty Moonlight work really well together. So we're going to add a little bit of adhesive to this layer, and then we're going to pop that onto the front of our card, just like that. Okay, so that's our foundation done. Now we are going to add a square vellum doily. Now if you look at my sample, I didn't use the whole doily on here. I had a little bit trailing off the end. So it's going to go on centered on here. So I'm looking at this little hole, right? And I'm kind of centering it. It's got to go a little bit lower. No, right about there is good. And over just a tad. All right. Now to glue this on, I'm not going to worry about fussing with little dots of glue. I'm just going to take and put a little bit of tape there because that's going to get hidden when I put my jar on. Okay. Then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim right along the edge and trim off the excess doily there. That's nice and tidy. Okay, so there is that. Next, we're going to do a little bit of work on our jar. Now this jar is punched from Purple Posy cardstock using the mason jar punch. Okay, and we are going to stamp our sentiment on it. Now this sentiment is from the Celebrate Sunflowers set. It says thanks a bunch, but I only wanted the word thanks. You know how mason jars have the label on them? I kind of wanted it to look like that. So I am using my Purple Posy Stampin' Right marker, and I'm going to ink only the word thanks. So again, just using the flat side of your brush tip of your marker. You don't want to use the end because it'll take too long. You definitely don't want to use the writing tip. And then I'm going to center just the word thanks and hopefully get it straight on my jar. It's a little bit lower than I might have liked it, but that's okay. All right, so now do you notice how I've got just a little bit of shading there to make the jar look a little bit more three-dimensional? So to do that, I'm going to use a sponge dauber and a little, you know what, I don't like the way I stamp things. We're going to stamp that again. I'm going to use a sponge dauber and some Highland Heather ink, and I'm just going to add some really subtle sponging around the edges. And this is going to make my jar look a little bit more three-dimensional. I don't really need to worry about the top because it's going to get covered, but we need to do the sides. Okay. All right. I'm going to restamp my thanks up a little bit higher because I did it too low. So let's try that again. So let's re-ink. So the beauty thing about these Stampin' Right markers is that you can do this kind of selective stamping. You can also do surgery on your stamps like I do and cut them apart, which I do all the time. But I didn't want to do that with this one because I didn't want to have to deal with this little kind of curly bit from the bee. So that's why I didn't cut it off. I thought about it. All right, so we're going to do our thanks up a little bit higher than we did last time. That's much better. All right, then we're going to add a little bit of twine. I forgot my twine. There it is. So we're going to add some twine around the top of our jar. So to do that, I'm just going to take, and our twine's going to go kind of right below where the ridges on the jar are. So I'm going to put just a glue dot there because, again, I don't like wrapping and tying. I find I can never get my bows tight and my knots tight. So this is just easier, much easier. So we're going to wrap this around and stick it on, okay? And then we're going to add our bow after the fact, all right? So we're going to first put our jar on. We're going to just glue this flat, okay? So I'm going to add just a little bit of tape to the back of my jar. And it's going to look like it's sitting sort of on the bottom edge of the DSP there. Let's slide that over just a touch, just so that it is semi-centered on our doily. Okay, just like that. And then we're going to finish coloring our flowers. Now I started these ahead of time just in the interest of you not having to sit and watch me color for hours. So I'll show you the colors I use. I use a lot of different colors of blends. So I use my dark and light Purple Posy. I use dark and light Seaside Spray. I used light mint macaron and light just jade. Okay, that's two different markers from the two markers from two different combo packs. And then I use dark petal pink and light smoky slate. Okay, so that's my color palette. So I'll first show you how I did the blue flowers. So I'll finish coloring this one here. So I'm going to use my light Seaside Spray to start. Now I have stamped this image in Basic Gray ink. Basic Gray Classic ink is one of the classic inks that you can use with Stampin' Blends. It does not run when you color with the blends. Okay, not all classic inks can say the same. So don't assume that just because this one works, the other ones won't or will, because lots won't. All right, but the Basic Gray is one that you can use with your blends and it will not bleed. Okay, so I've laid down my light of the Seaside Spray, and then I'm going to come in and just add some shadow. So I want the center of my flower to be dark, and then I'm going to add some shadow kind of where the petals overlap, and then same thing down here at the bottom. Okay, really quick. I'm not being super detailed here. And then again, I'm going to come in with my light and blend that out. And the nice thing about these flowers is you don't have to worry about trying to stay in the lines of the petals. You can kind of blend the whole flower at once. So they're pretty quick to color. I was in the mood for color therapy this weekend. I was very anxious about school starting this week, so I thought, what better way to distract myself than to sit and color for an afternoon, and it was just what the doctor ordered. There we go. Okay, now as that dries, it's going to dry, lighten up into that. Okay, all right, so that's our blue, and then we'll do the purple flower. So for this, I use the two Purple Posies. I'm going to start with my light, and we're going to add our layer of light first. And again, I'm not worried about staying in the lines of any of the petals. I'm just kind of coloring over top. As I said, the Basic Gray will not run, so it's safe to color right over top, and you'll get nice crisp image without any bleeding. So we'll color this whole guy here. I tend to like to use the brush tip when I'm coloring a large area, like when I'm laying down just a large swath of color. Usually when I'm blending, I like to use the bullet tip. However, for videos, I tend to use the brush tip because it's quieter. Not everybody likes the sound of the bullet tip scrubbing away on the paper, so that's why I'm sparing you guys. So I'm now adding some of the dark Purple Posy, again, just in spots that I want to highlight. I want the center to be quite dark on this flower. It's kind of a rose, I think. And we'll just add a little bit there. And you can see how that's already starting to blend with the layer of light that I had put down. And then it's just a matter of coming back in. And ideally, you'll work in a circular motion. Again, it doesn't always work so well when you're using the brush tip. You can get a much better blend with the bullet tip. So we'll just pull this in and just blend that out real quick. And again, this is going to fade into a much lighter shade once it sets. Okay, so that's our purple. So we'll get those out of the way. Then to color the leaves, I kind of mixed it up. So I started with the light mint macaron. So I'm going to lay down just a layer of the light mint on these last two leaves here. Then I'm going to come in with the light just jade, and I'm going to add some shadow kind of along the base of the leaf and along the vein. Okay, and then I'm going to come back with my mint macaron again and blend that out. So don't be afraid to experiment with different shades of different colors. Okay, you will be amazed at how nicely those colors blend, even though they're not necessarily the same, light and dark of the same color. Does that make sense? Okay, and then I already colored these, but that's what I used. I used the dark petal pink for these little guys. And then for my eucalyptus, I used the light smoky slate. So we'll just fill this in here real quick. There we go. All right, done and done. Okay, so now we are ready to pop this onto the front of our card. So we're going to add some dimensionals. I've got a fresh, look at this, brand new sheet. And I know this is going to annoy some people, but yes, I start my dimensionals in the middle. It's easier. I know some OCD types who want to start them at the edge and work in nice even rows. I don't have the time for that. I use enough dimensionals that it's not a big deal for me. So we're going to pop that on to the top of our jar there. Okay, and now we're going to make our double bow. So here is your bow tying lesson. Oh, Heather, the screeching. Yeah, the blends, when you are using the bullet tip, it does have a kind of an unpleasant sound. If you're okay with it, then great. If not, then just use the brush tip. It works. Okay, so to make my double twine bow, I have folded some linen thread back on itself, so I have a double thickness. I'm making a loop and holding it in my right hand. I'm taking my left hand, wrapping it around the front, and then bringing it through. Okay, so this is my bow where I don't actually tie a knot. I'm just making the two loops. And that doesn't give me a big bulky knot in the center. Just makes it a little bit prettier. Okay, the other trick when you're tying double bows is to make one of your loops a little bit smaller than the other, and that accentuates the fact that it is a double bow. And there we have a cute little twine bow. That is ready to go onto the front of my card. So I'm just going to roll this into a little glue booger here. And then when I have these little guys, I like to actually use the pointy tip of my what's this called? Take your pick. And I just find it easier to position, and my chubby fingers don't get in the way. Okay, so there is my pretty card. And then we're going to add a little bit of Wink of Stella because we can, and I just thought these flowers would look, woo! I have some extra color on there that I was not expecting. I will go back and blend that out after. I'm just going to add a little bit of Wink to my flowers to make them sparkle. You probably can't see that, but you'll have to take my word for it. And then the last touch is, yeah, Heather, I figured there would be somebody watching who couldn't handle the dimensionals in the middle. I knew somebody would be. I'm going to add some silver metallic pearls. So we're just going to go 1 and 2 and 3 just for a little shimmer. And there you go. There's your finished card. Now, I'll quick show you what I did on the inside of my sample. I added a Whisper White panel and just stamped my flowers again, just going off the edge a little bit. So I just had a part of the bouquet and colored them again with my blends. Okay, so there is card number 1 done. So pretty. I'm going to keep my Wink of Stella out because I'm probably going to use that on another card. And we're going to move on to number 2. Number 2 is this pretty sunflower card. So we're fast forwarding to fall. It feels like fall today here for sure. It is quite cool. And we're going to work with these sunflowers. And I'm a sucker for sunflowers. I love them. And I love that we have a sunflower image in this particular stamp set. So for this card, I actually stamped my image on another piece of the In Good Taste DSP. This is a light wood grain pattern. And you can see, look at the difference in color. This is a lighter section of the same piece. Okay, there's quite a bit of variation in color. So this is going to look a little bit darker than this just because I've stamped it on a darker patterned piece. Okay, so this one I have stamped in Early Espresso. So Early Espresso, Louise, if you're taking notes, Early Espresso is another ink color that you can use with your blends that will not bleed. Okay, so we have Basic Gray and Early Espresso as a couple of additional options to your Memento Black. Okay, so to color the sunflowers, here is my color palette. It's a little bit more limited than the last card. So to color the flowers, I used my Light Mango Melody and my Dark Pumpkin Pie. All right, so I'll color this last sunflower here. So I'm going to lay down first my Light Mango. So I'm doing less blending on this card and more just coloring and adding some accents. So I find that these images are a little bit smaller. The flowers are a little bit smaller, so it's a little bit harder to blend when you have a smaller area. So for these guys, I just basically colored it in and then added some accents with a contrasting color. So the Light Mango gives a great gold, it's very close to Bumblebee, which I think is why we don't have a Bumblebee blend set. I know when the In Color blends came out, I had a lot of people asking why there was no Bumblebee, and I think it's because the mango is quite close. All right, and then I'm going to come in with my pumpkin pie. This is the Dark Pumpkin Pie, and just on those little sort of markings of shading on the petals, I'm just going to add a little accent of the pumpkin pie. Okay, just a little hint of it. Now you can certainly go back and blend that if you would like. I'm not going to take time to blend the whole leaf. I'm just going to kind of go over the pumpkin pie just so that it blends in with the yellow behind it a bit better. Okay, that's it. So simple, eh? Next, I'm going to color the center of my flower using my light cinnamon cider. Again, I'm not worrying about shading. There is so much shading on the stamp, so much detail on the stamp. You really do not need to shade this flower at all. You just get great color just by laying down the single layer. And then I'm also going to color the center of this. Now, I am not sure what kind of flower greenery this is. I know I've seen it in arrangements, especially fall arrangements, but I don't know whether that's the right color. That's the color that I chose because it's a fall arrangement. Then I'm going to color my leaves using Dark Old Olive. So I'm just going to come in again. Now this is quite a frayed brush tip, so I have to be quite careful here and just kind of tickle my surface because my tip is quite worn. It's time for a new Old Olive. My bullet tip is fine, but I find my brush tips wear out, especially because I'm blending with the brush tip on video. That's one of the advantages to using the bullet tip. It's a little bit more durable, so you can really kind of dig in and blend those colors out and not worry about damaging your tip. With the brush tip, it's a little bit more delicate, so they don't last quite as long. Just add a little titch more color there. There we go. I'm going to add just a bit down here too. And then just a little, just a touch here. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Oh, so pretty. Love it, love it, love it. Now I have already colored all of the Cajun Craze flowers, but I just used the dark Cajun Craze on those ones, okay? Just so that you have your color palette there. All right, we are going to stamp another sentiment from the Celebrate Sunflowers. And it says, know that you are loved. And I think this is something, this card could go to anyone. Everyone needs to know that they are loved. So we're going to go ahead and stamp that in the Early Espresso and hopefully relatively straight. Just like that. Oh, hi, Gail. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, Judith. All right, there, we're done the hard part. Isn't that pretty? It's so pretty just like that. That would make a lovely tag, wouldn't it? All right, so now to make the rest of our card, we have another piece of the Flowers for Every Season DSP. We have the colorful sunflowers on one side, and then these are kind of monochromatic. I chose this side because I wanted the stamped image to stand out. So this is cut to 5 1/4 by 4 inches. And then I have a piece of cinnamon cider cardstock that is 2 1/2 by 4. Okay, and I've embossed it using the Tasteful Textile 3D embossing folder, which is one of my very favorites. So we're going to add just a little bit of tape to the back of our embossed piece, and 1/2 inch in from the left edge, we are going to adhere it to our DSP panel. Now this is a little bit longer, so we're going to just trim off that little excess bit so that it's nice and neat and tidy. There we go. Oh, we got a little bit of DSP there. All right, and then I'm going to add a little bit of this absolutely adorable Bumblebee gingham ribbon. I am a sucker for gingham, and for me, gingham is fall and spring. Actually, gingham is good anytime. Who am I kidding? So we're going to go ahead and add that ribbon about 1 1/4 inch, 1.5 up from the bottom edge. Okay, so to do that, I'm just going to add a glue dot to the end of my ribbon and press it onto the back of my DSP. And then we'll trim that right off. And add another glue dot. Okay, and then before we add our colored piece, we're going to go ahead and glue this onto our card base. So here, this is a piece of Bumblebee cardstock. It's 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. So we'll fold that in half along our score line and add a little bit of adhesive to the back of our DSP panel. And then we're going to pop this on. Just like that. Whoops, am I upside down? I am. Whew. That was close. Almost had a disaster. Oh, that's really uneven. What did I do there? I don't know. Anyway, we're not going to worry about it. We're just going to go with it, but that's a very large border at the top there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and add our focal image, and that's just going to get popped up with a couple of dimensionals. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll get rid of our backings. And we're going to pop that on. And I put it on so that my ribbon was kind of along the lower portion of the, so it lined up with the lower portion, because I want my bow, do you see how my bow is going to kind of come in at that bottom corner? So I'm going to put it on right about there-ish and hope it's straight. Okay, is it straight? It's not bad. And then we're going to add a couple of these little In Good Taste wooden elements. I love these little wood touches, especially on fall cards. So we're just going to kind of add a couple of little leaves here, just tucked in under our label. I'm adhering them with glue dots. You do not need a whole lot of adhesive. These are quite lightweight. So we're going to tuck those in there, and then we're going to tie another bow. So this is a ribbon bow. So for this one, we are going to pinch the ribbon between our thumb and our index finger on both hands, making 2 little bunny ears, 2 little loops. Okay, I'm going to take my left loop, cross it over the right, and bring it around and through. And there is my pretty little bow. And then again, as with any bow, we have to play with it to tease out exactly what we want our bow to look like. So we're going to play with the loops, we're going to play with the length of the tails until we get it exactly looking the way we want it. And then we're going to press the knot right into a glue dot, and then that is going to go on right there so it lines up with the ribbon that's in behind. Okay, and that's that. So simple, isn't it? On the inside of this one, this is a really great tip. So when you are using the 6x6 DSP and you cut a 4x5 1/4 inch panel for the front of your card, you are left with some scraps. Save those scraps and use them on the inside of your card. Okay, it's a great way to tie the inside to the front without having to do any stamping, right? And now I could add whatever sentiment I'd like in here. It could be happy birthday, it could just be a thinking of you, whatever, but it totally ties in with the front of the card. Okay, so that's your little DSP saving or scrap use tip. I'm full of tips today. All right, last one. We're fast forwarding now to Christmas. How many of you have started working on Christmas cards? I have been working on them a lot because I'm doing a lot of planning for my fall classes, and Christmas is certainly a big part of that. All right, so this one, we are using some DSP from 2 different DSP packs. I'll just pull them out so you can see. So again, more of that In Good Taste Designer Series paper. If you don't have this DSP pack, you need to go and get it. It is so versatile for any season, for any occasion. It's my go-to pack. So we're using a wood grain pattern from that. And then this one is from, what is it called? Wishes and Wonder? Hang on, I gotta check so I can tell you the right name. I have my catalog right here. 'Tis the Season. Not even close. Wishes and Wonder. I don't know where I got that. 'Tis the Season Designer Series paper. It's a 6x6 pack. Okay, so that's where I got those 2 from. And so let me just give you some measurements here. This is 5 1/4 till 4 by 4. 5 1/4 by 4. This piece is 5 1/4 by 2. 5 1/4 by 2. Okay, you'll see they're the same length. And then I have here a piece of the brushed metallic cardstock. This is the gold, and it is 5 1/4 by 2 1/4. Okay, so it's a 1/4 of an inch wider. So it's got a little bit wider border than I usually do, but I really liked that extra richness that adds. So we're gonna go ahead and adhere our DSP strip to the metallic. So I'm using seal, so I gotta make sure I get this right the first time because there's no repositioning this stuff. So we're just gonna get that nice and straight on there. Okay, and then that is going to get layered onto the front of our DSP, our larger DSP panel, about 1/2 inch up from the bottom. So again, we're gonna add a little bit of adhesive. Oh, Heather, you're waiting till October. Good for you. If I waited till October, I'd be in serious trouble, and I'd have a lot of people asking me what the heck's going on with all my Christmas card classes because I would not have them ready. All right, now I have a little bit. Oh no, we're not too bad. I thought I had a bit of an overhang, but we're good. All right, so we're gonna glue that onto a real red card base. Okay, so this is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, same dimensions as the last one. Scored in the middle at 4 1/4. So we will fold that in half along our score line. And we're gonna pop that on just like that. And look at how rich that is. Oh, I just love that look. So we're gonna just glue that right down. And I'll do a better job of centering it this time because I did a really bad job on the last card. There we go, that's better. And then I'm gonna show you, I've already colored the flowers on this, but I'm gonna show you the colors. Oh, I did not pull out the colors. Never mind, I'll tell you the colors I used. I didn't pull out the markers because I had colored it ahead of time. So I used dark Poppy Parade and light Real Red, dark Old Olive, dark Mango Melody, and bronze for the brown. Okay, those are the colors I use there. But I wanted to show you how to stamp the stems and have them look like they actually belong to the flowers, so you don't have floating flowers. I've had a couple of people mention to me they have a hard time stamping the stems in this stamp set so that they look like the flowers are actually connected to them. So the secret to that is masking. Okay, so I've stamped and colored my image. Here on a Post-it note, I've stamped the image again, and I've just cut out along the bottom edge of the image. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stick that down over top of my colored image. All right, and then I'm gonna come in with my Early Espresso ink and the stem stamp. Okay, so I'm gonna ink this up. And then I'm going to make sure when I stamp this, I want to make sure my stems go right up into that little cutout area, right? Because I want to make sure that all of the flowers look like they're connected to a stem. So I'm going to go right up into that area. Okay. I'm not going to take my mask off yet because I need to stamp my jar at the same time. So here's my jar. And I'm going to bring in my smoky slate. So we'll ink up the jar with smoky slate, and then I'm going to center my jar over top of the stems. And again, my jar is going to extend off the bottom. Okay, that's okay. But again, I want to make sure the top of the jar extends onto the flowers, okay? So that it looks like my flowers are sitting in the jar and not floating above it. So we'll stamp that, okay? And then when we take off our mask, voila, we have flowers that are attached to stems. Isn't that amazing? I hope that helps with your stem placement. Now I need to grab my Old Olive marker so we can color our stems. So again, I'm using the dark Old Olive to color my stems. And again, because this marker is so frayed, I need to be really, really careful. I'm sorry if you're getting my head in the view of the camera there. I'm trying to do this off to the side, but it is not easy when you are using a marker that is past its prime. I'll just fill this in real quick. Okay, now you could certainly use different shades for the stems if you wanted to really accentuate the fact that there are different plants in here. I didn't take the time to do that. I just colored them all green. But you could certainly, you know, do some in brown or in different shades of green if you wanted to make it look a little bit more realistic. But we'll just finish this off with green for now, because you guys have watched me color enough today. Okay, now I will mention one thing that I forgot to do. I forgot to bring my Pool Party marker over. I used the light Pool Party. I'll just show you on my sample. I used the light Pool Party just on the sort of the hash marks on the glass, just to make it look like it's a little bit reflective. Okay, just an aside there. I'm not going to take the time to grab my Pool Party now, but there you go. Okay, so there is your bouquet of flowers that is attached to the stems. Okay, all right, so that is going to go on the front of our card. But first, we are going to add some little Christmassy bits and bobs. So these are some die cuts from a couple of different die sets. This one is from the poinsettia dies. I wanted just like a little gold spriggy accent there. So we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of adhesive and just have that kind of peeking out, just like that. And then these two little guys are cut from the Pika Hoot dies. Now I'm going to be featuring those in a couple of weeks. They are adorable. But there is this cute little, these just little bitty sort of Christmas pine bough images that are just the perfect little touch of an accent. Okay, so that is going to get glued onto the front of our card. So let's do that. And we're going to put this on about, again, a 1/2 inch over from the edge. Just like that. Okay, and then we have here a label. This is cut using the Ornate Frames dies. And this Warm Wishes for a Happy Christmas stamp is from the Best Year stamp set. Now this stamp set is the one that I'm featuring in my World Card Making Day mini stamp stack. So if you want to check out my website or my blog, you will see this event, and if you can't find it, let me know and I will send you the info. But on October 3rd, I'm hosting or holding a virtual stamp stack, and this stamp set is included in the class fee. We're going to be using that to create our cards. So I am using Warm Wishes for a Happy Christmas, and my, where did I put my Early Espresso ink? There it is. Early Espresso ink. We're going to ink that up and stamp it on our little label here and hopefully get it relatively straight. Not bad. And then I'm going to add my last little green sprig here, just to the bottom of that label. I'll just add a glue dot here. Quick and easy. And we'll pop this kind of on here like that. And then our label is going to go on with, you guessed it, a couple of dimensionals. Just like that. And we'll pop it on here. And it's going to overlap our jar a little bit, but also extend off the edge, so it kind of looks like the little greenery and gold bits are peeking out from behind. Okay, and then the last touch is a little bit of this really pretty Poppy Parade metallic ribbon. Now this comes in a combo pack with Poppy Parade and Old Olive, and you get 5 yards of each, and I think it's like $12. But it's really, really nice. It's only 1/8 of an inch wide, which makes it perfect for doing little bows to put on these jars. So again, I'm not going to give you your bow tying lesson again. I'm doing my usual bow. So I'm going to just pull that nice and tight. And again, I don't want my loops to be too big because I don't want it to overpower my flowers. So we're going to just trim that off there. And add a glue dot. And we're going to pop that on just in the center of our jar there. And there we go. Simple, rustic Christmas card. Okay, and I'll just show you again on the inside of this one. Can you tell I was in a coloring kind of mood? I stamped the image a couple more times on the inside and colored some more. And there we have it. All right, so let me bring in all of our projects. I hope you guys like these. Let's 1 and 2 and 3. Now I didn't get to the last floral, the tulips, the spring ones, but check out my social media this week. I did make a card with it and I will post it later this week. Okay. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed those. Check out this bundle. It is a good one. If you like to color, this is the bundle for you. I tell you, it's very therapeutic. Ask me how I know. All right. I am out for now. I will not be live this Friday. Having gone back to school and all the craziness that involves this year, I am not going to be doing a live this Friday. But once things settle in, I'm hoping to do some Stampin' on the Fly kind of lives starting in a few weeks. Okay, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoy these projects, and I will see you again next week for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. Bye for now.